Hi, Jackiem. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Nice sunny morning in
Good.
California for me. Southern
Oh,
California. Los
is that
Angeles.
where you are? You're in LA?
Yeah, oh, just outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, no
No fire.
fires around you?
Fires are done, I think. I hope.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I was looking over your bio. You're a musician, yeah?
Yeah. That's my main thing is I'm a recording artist. I put out my first album, Baby Soul, back in 2007. So right now I have seven albums that have been released worldwide. So that's my main thing, saxophone player. Uh,
Oh, great. What
yeah.
kind of music? Jazz or?
I'm known in contemporary jazz, so that's I tour, that's what I do as a touring artist, except for this year, of course. uh,
Yeah.
but I've toured all over. I've performed with the greats like George Duke, Donnie McClurkin, Ronnie Laws, Bobby Lyle. The list kind of goes on. That's what people know me on. People are getting to know me as an author.
All right. So you said contemporary jazz. What's the difference between contemporary jazz and you know, Charlie Parker or Miles Davis or somebody like that? Is it a different sound?
Oh yeah, I mean, like a Charlie Parker plays a style called bebop. So this is very different than what I play, which is more of an R&B kind of a sound. You can think of it as like different your favorite contemporary R&B singers, but it's performed using a saxophone or trumpet or piano. Also pop music that you can dance to, all in the form of instruments. So different music with beats behind it. Doesn't fit in with the Charlie Parker. Although I started playing saxophone, listening to Charlie Parker, one of the first saxophone players I actually heard. But yes, contemporary jazz is a wide difference. But if you're good at what you do as an artist, you know how to kind of merge them a little bit.
Okay. So do you have a preference between Charlie Parker and Coltrane?
I think they both have to. I mean, they both are playing bebops. I mean, I love Charlie Parker's alto playing, but when it comes to bebop on tenor, John Coltrane, he gets the, I mean, he's just, and also he's a great soprano. I love his ballads. Uh, it's hard to say which one I pick over the other, but both of them, set the standard for saxophone players, and both of them were highly influential for myself starting to play the saxophone.
So when did you start to play?
I started to play in high school. I was at the tender age of 14. I
Wow.
actually wanted to play the drums, but the music teacher had enough drummers for the band. I really wanted to be in the band, but I wanted to play the drums. So he said, they had too many drummers. So, he said, you want to try something else? Took me to this big drum closet or instrument closet, and there's tubas in there. There was flutes, there were trumpets, and there was this really shiny thing called the saxophone. And I said, "Teach me that one."
I'm glad you picked the sax over the tuba.
Yeah. It seemed a bit lighter on my shoulders, so
Yeah.
yeah. And he gave me a tape, and on that tape actually was John Coltrane, and also other contemporary greats like Grover Washington Jr.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so I listened to that. I was like, man, this is different, and I was practicing obnoxiously loud in the apartment with my mom. I'm surprised she tolerated it, believe it or not. But I guess the rest is history. I've had two number one singles on the radio, several top five Billboard hits. I had a number one record back in 2017. So
Nice.
so yeah, I'm pretty widely known as a contemporary jazz artist now.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the songs that you had on Billboard, those were your own compositions?
Yeah, yep. I'm Waiting for You was number one for 12 consecutive weeks on the Billboard. I didn't even know what the Billboard was. This was back in 2009, and my manager just told me. He said I was in Denver just getting ready for a show. He said we're number one. I said number one on what? He said number one on the Billboard. I said what's the Billboard? So yeah, so I was 29 years old. So I realized the effect of that. When I started getting royalty checks. But and yes, a song that I wrote, "I'm Waiting for You," and then also "Take Me There" was the follow-up single, and that also went number one. That was number one for 6 weeks. So I was, this young guy in his late 20s. They're like, who is this kid?
Well, all right. That's great. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
So now you've been writing books. What made you become an author?
I love the movies, and my favorite genre is science fiction. And I've been watching science fiction movies ever since the first time I saw Star Wars. I probably was 8 or 9, and everything all the way up to Transformers, to Avatar, and then I think I eventually became kind of a critic of stories. And then I think someone might have said to me, well, since you're such a critic, maybe you should create your own story. And, that's where my first novel, Zaria, came to be. And the interesting thing is when you're on tour, there's all this time you have, you're waiting at the airport, you got 4 hours before you can board,
Right.
or
Yeah.
you're backstage, and, you got an hour or 2 hours before sound check, and you just, and I think I started my first attempt at Zaria was actually on tour, believe it or not, backstage. I said, whatever. I took out Evernote, and I just started just writing whatever came to my head, and I write my music and I compose my album. So I do the draft as fast as I can, as fast as I can write it. Put all the garbage down, and then I go back and try to make sense of everything. And I think it took about a year before I went back and started to try to clean up and create a draft for Zaria. I wasn't planning on being no big time author or anything like that. I just really enjoyed writing, stories. And I said, hey, well, I might as well take this story seriously and make it official. So I went back and rewrote the story again. It was about a 3-year process to actually finish Zaria. And 6 to 7 months going back and forth with the editors to finally have a story that I really enjoyed, and I think a lot of people like it. I mean, Zaria it's all about science fiction. A teenage girl, saves the world, and she's hidden from all of the dark things that happen on the planet that she's on. So, and I definitely don't want to give away anything about the story or any spoilers. But if you're into movies like Avatar, or even like the Divergent series, where a young teenager is going up against the system, so to speak, by herself.
Okay.
And maybe
Yeah.
got a couple of teenagers that's helping her, and they're infiltrating military bases, then that's going to be your story.
So, something you said that was interesting that I want to touch back on. When you started out, you said you were a big critic of movies,
Yeah.
and so you started writing. I've had this conversation with other authors who basically have said they read through many, many books, they were avid readers, and a lot of times their response was, I could do better than that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. That's what motivated them to get started,
Yeah.
because they thought, I could do better. And so they sat down and started writing, you know?
But the thing is that when you get into it and you're halfway through your manuscript, you're like, geez, this is hard. Oh, I missed this part. I missed it, or I didn't answer this question. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's it's not as easy as just putting the story together and making sure the ending matches the beginning, and you didn't forget about character B and what they were supposed to be doing. Putting all that stuff together, I think because writing, I think requires you to have a really big imagination, you know, and
Sure.
when you have a big imagination, a lot of times it's a big unorganized imagination, so to speak. So going back and organizing all of that imaginative stuff that you put down, and making everything logical and make sense, is was for me the most challenging part, because Zarya is a full-length novel. I mean, it's close to 500 pages, so it's a lot to just a lot of plot and stuff to just make sure that there aren't any holes and stuff like that. So so that was mainly the difficult part, but I will say that I enjoyed it. I really did. I mean, I was just going on these adventures in my head. you know
Did you find that once you got going with the book and you started to develop your characters, did you find that your characters were alive while you were asleep, and then you would wake up and they did all kinds of stuff that you just had to get down right away? I've heard that from authors too.
Yes. Actually, on Zarya, her best friend, Kizzy, is kind of a different. She's more like a tomboy, and like Zarya is really good with computers and coding and things like that. Her best friend, um, Kizzy, she's good with her hands, like mechanical, like she's fixing drones with her hands, because of the story has a lot of drones. It's really like way into the future. So she's like a hands-on kind of a girl, and that kind of led me to make her character more of that in the story, and have these two paralleling characters where they kind of bounce off of each other and really help each other. Zarya creates a hoverboard from a bunch of junk that comes in from the city, all these old drones that they're not using, and space parts and all of this stuff, and she manages to get the coding right. But then Kizzy goes in, and she helps out with the physical part of the board. So it was interesting to see how many of these characters started to kind of create themselves, believe it or not. It's just you let
Yeah.
and it's like they have their own world. Even I think if I wanted to, if I had time, I could probably even do an alternate story with maybe just Kizzy, or even with one of the other characters, because they seem really interesting to me.
Are you pursuing movie rights for any of your books?
I would love to. It's well, I mean, now would probably be the best time, because I'm certainly not as busy as I normally am. But I would love to see that, and get involved with that. In fact, I think that's probably my ultimate dream, really, is to write scripts for movies, and have can you imagine seeing someone playing out a character that you created? I mean, that's that's the ultimate high. So I would love to see that, and I think I'm probably going to start pursuing that, pretty aggressively.
Well, that's great. And you've got connections in the music business who could probably, you know, pave a road for you somewhere to do that.
I think I probably would have a leg up, you know, because of I'm dealing with a lot of people, even people who write film scores, and I have a friend who does all these big time trailers, and it's probably just simple connecting that I need to actually go out there and do, and
Oh, exactly.
happen.
And actually, you wouldn't even have to write the screenplay if you didn't want to. They just buy the rights to your book.
Yeah,
And they got,
yeah.
they write you a nice check, and then you could just watch and see. The only thing, I've had guests on who have had that happen.
Hmm.
They say that sometimes is kind of depressing is by the time the movie comes out, it doesn't necessarily represent the book
Uh,
the way
yeah,
you had it in your mind. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly. They completely change things.
Yeah.
Because I'm working on another story too, which is really an interesting science fiction story that takes place in Brooklyn. It's a highly advanced version of Brooklyn, except it's a dirty Brooklyn. It's still lit with crime and things like that, except for, there's drones, there's all this technology and different things like that. It kind of reminds me of, the movie Elysium, which features, Elysium has a Matt Damon. If you want to check that out.
Is that the one with the virus?
Huh?
Is that the one with the virus?
No, it's not a virus. Everyone is looking at, they're living on this dirty Los Angeles. And then,
okay. I've seen that one. Yeah.
and then looking up in the Elysium, which is the clean area, the place where
Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster's the president of the space country or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm working on a story that's in Brooklyn. But it doesn't have anything to do about going up into space or anything like that. The story takes place on the ground. So, I just like the idea of having a highly technologically advanced society that's still, dirty. It's not like clean advanced, it's like dirty advanced, like a bus that's taking off, but it's, got all the smoke, it's barely getting off the ground or whatever, they looks like, been flying a million times, so that's the kind of science fiction, visuals.
All right. Hey, we got to wrap this up. Our time is up, unfortunately. My guest is Jackiem Joyner. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Yeah, you can actually go to my website, which is my first and last name, JackemJoyner.com, JackemJoyner.com. There is a link on there for my books, so you can actually just click that link and it'll take you. You can read about my books and what I'm working on right now, and follow me on Instagram at Jackiem Joyner.